Jai Jinendra everyone, welcoming to
Vijay,
Jai Jind, welcoming you all to a new series of lectures. Today we have Somil Bhaiya along with us for the lecture of Panch Parmeshthi Part 1. So before I would invite Somil Bhaiya to start the lecture, let me shortly introduce you all to him and whatever the work he's doing currently. Shri Somil Mehta from Mumbai. He's a PhD in chemistry from Columbia University, New York, and Shastri from Mukt Vidyapeeth. He's known for his ability to simplify complex Jain concepts using scientific principles and practical examples. Shri Somil Mehta has been teaching Jainism for several years. Professionally, Somilji is currently an innovation leader at DuPont's Water Solutions business. He leads a team of industry experts specializing in technical service and development for water treatment technologies across the region. He began his career in 2008 as a senior scientist with Roham and Has Company, which was later acquired by Dow Chemical Company and now DuPont. His work has been published in various international journals and he holds multiple patents in his field. When we talk about his contributions to Jain philosophy, alongside his professional career, he holds is deeply committed to Jain studies. He has earned the Shastri qualification from Mukta Vidyapeeth Jaipur and initiated by Pandit Todarmal Smarak Trust. He is a self-taught Jain scholar who has been actively engaged in teaching Jain philosophy, conducting Swadhyay sessions, and leading Pathshala teachings for several years. He's one of the
okay.
faculty members of Jeev Academy, actively involved in its activities. So, people from Mumbai must be knowing him through his lectures, live lectures at Parla Jin Mandir. And to start the today's lecture, now I would like to invite Somil Bhaiya to start the lecture with Manglasharan.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, Harshil Bhai. Let's begin our discussion today with a short Manglacharan. I request all of you to fold your hands and recite Namokar mantra with me. Namo Arihantanam, Namo Siddhanam, Namo Ayariyanam, Namo Uvajjanam, Namo Loe Savvasa. Jai Jinendra, everyone, and welcome to our today's discussion on five supreme beings, or Panch Parmeshthi, as we call it.
Okay.
The Mangla
Okay.
Charan. Harshil Bhai, can you please mute participants?
Yes, yes, please.
Thank you. The Mangla Charan Pad that we just recited is called as a Namokar mantra, and it is one of the most commonly recited uh, uh, stanza or phrase by any Jain in their daily routines. So we wake up and first thing that we recite is always Namokar mantra. Or we go to a temple and we see the idol, what we recite is a Namokar mantra. However, I want to draw your attention to what is mentioned in this Namokar mantra. What we are doing in Namokar mantra is essentially bowing down to five supreme beings or Panch Parmeshthi. We can recite the Namokar mantra pad, but unless we know the meaning of these five supreme beings, who they are, and what qualities do they hold, without that, we will not have the internal feeling of actually bowing down to these five supreme beings. So the topic of our discussion today is who are these five supreme beings or who are Panch Parmeshthi. Let me share my screen for a presentation. Okay, so I hope you can see my screen.
Yes.
We are going to learn about five supreme beings in two classes. Today, 23rd, we will discuss about Arihant Bhagwan and Siddh Bhagwan or Dev. And the following week on 30th, we will discuss about Acharya, Upadhyay, and Sadhu. So let's dive straight into it. What are these five supreme beings or Panch Parmeshthi? As the name suggests, Panch Parmeshthi. The meaning of Panch means five, and Parmeshthi can be broken into two words, Param plus East. Param means supreme, and East means beneficial. For example, if you are in the field of playing cricket, so who is the supreme being or supreme player in the field of cricket? So, for example, Sachin Tendulkar. So, he is the best batsman in the world. You would call him a supreme batsman. Similarly, all of us are Jeev. And among the Jeeves, who is the most auspicious or supreme individual and who is beneficial to us? So, these five positions are the five supreme positions or Param East. That's why they are called Panch Parmeshthi. Why are these five positions considered supreme? Because these are the pad, these are the stature that soul want to achieve when it wants to achieve the supreme happiness. The ultimate happiness is achieved when you achieve these five supreme positions. Now, you would notice that these five positions are actually positions, they are not individual names. So, Panch Parmeshthi, they are five pads or they are five positions like Arahant Bhagwan, Siddha Bhagwan, Acharya, Upadhyay, and Sadhu. So, in Jainism, we generally worship these positions who hold the attributes which we want to achieve so that we can achieve the ultimate happiness. Our role models would be Tirthankar Mahavir Bhagwan, who has already achieved Arihant Bhagwan, Arihant Pad and already now reside in the Siddha Pad. So the people who have achieved these positions are our role models. But essentially, we want to achieve these five positions, and that's why these five Param East are five pads that we want to achieve. Let's dive further. What are these five supreme beings? So they are Arihant Bhagwan, who possess omniscience and are considered as gods. Then second is Siddha Bhagwan, who is the purest soul, a soul without any bodily matter, a pure soul who is now in the eternal bliss. Then we have Acharyas, Upadhyayas, and Sadhus. These are three gurus or ascetic monks, where sadhus are general ascetic monks. Among sadhus, those who are more learned and have capacity to learn as well as teach others, they are called upadhyayas, who are preceptors or educators among the ascetics. And the chief of the congregation of ascetics are called acharyas. So acharyas would lead a sangh or a congregation of ascetics which consist of upadhyayas and sadhus. Today we will focus our discussion on arihants and siddhs. So let's first jump into Arihant Bhagwan. Who is an Arihant Bhagwan? There are three words that you may have heard. Sometimes we call it as Arahant Bhagwan, A-R-A. Sometimes we call it Arihant Bhagwan, A-R-I. Or sometimes we also call it Aruhant Bhagwan or A-R-U. All three have the same meaning or have the same connotation. They all refer to a god who has achieved Arihant Pad. You will notice on the picture on the left side, Arihant Parmeshthi is symbolized by a god who is sitting in a Samavasharan, who is sitting on a lotus Sihasan, has Chhatra, has two Chavar, Bhamandal behind him. He has a few signs of a god-like entity. Normally, when you see a god in a colloquial context, God as represented by other philosophies, you would see a god who holds a spear or sword or some kind of weapon in their hands, or they would have some lady, some princess, or some queen alongside, or they are putting their foot, or they are showing their authority over some animal like lion or tiger. Uh, all of these are signs of a person who holds similar emotion as us. They are angry, they are egoistic, they have their greed or they have their lust, and we also have similar emotions. Then how are these considered as god? A god who is someone who has won over his own vows or bad thoughts, a person who has purified himself to achieve the omniscience and eternal bliss is called God. So, an Arihant, the word Arihant symbolizes, Ari means enemies and Hant means destroyer. A person who has destroyed all of his enemies. But which enemies? These are the internal enemies or internal bad thoughts or bad emotions or impurities within. When one wins over these, then one becomes an Arihant Bhagwan. So Ari word signifies delusion or passion, attachments or aversions. You would learn about these words or terminologies in another class. There is a famous story about Lord Mahavir. Lord Mahavir was symbolized by 5 names. You may have heard about these 5 names: Veer, Ativir, Sanmati, Vardhaman, and Mahavir. And there are 5 stories associated with these 5 names. But the most important story of these 5 is the one associated with the word Mahavir. Why is Lord Mahavir called Mahavir? A Mahavir word means a person who is stronger than everybody else, who is the most powerful person. So, what is the act that he did to actually prove his power? Or what is it that he did? Why he was called Mahavir? He was called Mahavir because he won over all of his enemies and became a supreme soul. Which were these enemies? These were his internal impurities or the internal enemies like delusion, passion, attachments, and aversions mentioned here. So one cannot become a Veer or Mahavir by winning over others because there would always be a person stronger than you at some point of time. But when one achieves or when one wins over their own impurities and becomes a pure soul, that's when one becomes a god. So in Jainism, the word god is signified by a person who has won over his inner enemies, not by a person who wins outside. Okay, let's understand Bhagwan, Arihant Bhagwan in a little more details. What is an Arihant Pad? What who achieves a position called Arihant? So a person who first achieves passionlessness in the process of moksha marga. The first and foremost step that a soul needs to achieve is to identify oneself and believe that I am a pure soul. I have the capability of becoming a Bhagwan myself. That belief is called Samyak Darshan. Samyak Darshan is always accompanied by Samyak Gyan and Samyak Charitra. Together they are called Ratnatraya. Once the soul achieves Ratnatraya, then the next step is to take an ascetic monkhood, which means the Nagna Digambar Avastha, a naked soul monkhood, uh, which focuses on purely on getting engrossed within. Nij Swabhav Sadhana is the only objective of those ascetic monks. They live in the forest, they eat food once in a day by means of ahar but those are only external activities. He would follow 28 Mool Gun, but that is not the main purpose of monkhood. The main purpose of monkhood is to actually get engrossed within and experience the eternal bliss. When the ascetic monks get fully engrossed within, they achieve a position called complete passionlessness when he becomes a Vitaragi. After Vitaragata, the monk, the soul will now achieve Sarvagyata or omniscience, an ability to know everything. So the soul achieved Vitaragta or complete passionlessness, complete winning over his own impurities, and then second, omniscience or Sarvagyata. With Vitaragata and Sarvagyata, the soul achieves godhood and is known as Arihant. There are special type of Arihants called Tirthankaras. These Tirthankaras are the ones who actually sit in the middle of Samosharan, and through his Divya Dhvani, through his divine speech, many other souls also gets to know about Jain Dharma and about their own soul. So many other souls also achieve the real path of Moksha Marg and eventually achieve Vitrakta and Sarvagyata by means of the divine speech of Tirthankaras. So this divine speech or this message of preaching for the welfare of all souls is called Hitopadeshi. So Tirthankars are Vitaragi, Sarvagya, and Hitopadeshi. But there can be normal Arihants who are Vitaragi and Sarvagya. So an Arihant must have Vitaragata and Sarvagyata as the basic essential qualities. In addition to that, Arihant Bhagwans are free of all sorts of maladies like hunger, thirst, senility, any disease. They will not take any birth anymore. They will not die anymore. They don't have any fear anymore. So they are not like any normal human beings. You might have heard about stories elsewhere that a god is also eating and he is very hungry, or he gets sick of disease, or the god is now hibernating or sleeping. Such maladies can never exist in a god. Otherwise, why would he be called a god? He would be just like a normal human being like us. So a god is always free of these 18 dosh or 18 maladies. In addition, the Arihant Bhagwans now also see, while the soul has achieved supremacy of Vitaragata and Sarvagyata, but it so happens that when soul achieves this position, the body also changes a little bit. The body was earlier called Audarik Sharir, but now it becomes Param Audarik Sharir, which means the body has several changes. Like, for example, now it will not have any kind of disease ever. It will not need to eat anything. The body will remain as it is for hundreds and thousands of years. The body is unclad, it is unadorned, and it is unarmed. Arihant Bhagwan is in the form of Nagna Digambar Avastha, as if a newborn baby is just born. Similar type of naked bodily structure is how Arihant Bhagwan would be situated in. He would always be either in a Padmasan position as it is shown in the picture, or he would be in a Khadgasan position, in a standing posture. These are the only two postures in which an Arihant Bhagwan can be found. Through the sermons of Arihant Bhagwan, he will now spread the true path of religion or Dharma Tirtha, and this will prevail in the universe. So, right now, also, the religious messages that we are receiving through various Shastra is part of original message which was spread and prevailed by Sri Mahavir Bhagwan. So even today, we are called under Mahavir Bhagwan's Shashan Parampara. So the Tirthankara who spreads the religious path and the message eventually his sashan will stay until the next Tirthankar uh, takes the Tirthankar Pad, and he will start with his divine speech. So, by means of this message or Divya Dwani, the true uh, path is achieved by mundane souls like us, and eventually we can also do our welfare. This Arihant Pad is so benign and divine that every eligible soul may realize their self by just looking at them. We go to temple to do Bhagwan's darshan. Why do we go to do darshan? Because what we see there is a pratima, Jinendra Bhagwan's idol. This idol is exactly similar to how a real Bhagwan would be sitting in a Samosharan, except that in Samosharan there is his speech or sermon, whereas in the mandir it is in a maun or quiet position. Otherwise, you can see the idol and it reminds you of your own soul. So it is a quiet message that Arihant Bhagwan's Pratima is giving to us, that the real happiness is when one gets engrossed in oneself within, not in the external world. This kind of quiet message we can achieve even by looking at Bhagwan, and that's why Arihant Bhagwan's uh, Samosharan, his Pratima, Arihant Bhagwan himself or his Pratima are considered as one of the prime reason for achieving Samyak Darshan. So just to recap, a godhood in Jainism is achieved by winning your own internal impurities and by achieving passionlessness or vitragata and omniscience or sarvagnata. So only the vitragi and sarvagna are considered God, and when they are in the bodily form, they are called Arihant Bhagwan. Now let's imagine that I, in this life, first achieved Samyak Darshan or Ratnatraya. Then I took ascetic monkhood, and in the process of self-introspection and engrossment, I eventually achieved Vitrakta and Sarvagyata, and I became a Bhagwan. What will happen next? What happens next is Arihant Bhagwan will eventually leave his bodily form and achieve Siddha Dasha. So before we go there, Arihant Bhagwan has 46 main attributes, out of which 4 are soul related: infinite knowledge, infinite perception, infinite energy, and infinite bliss. And the rest 42 are related to bodily or external physical form related qualities. So there are 34 marvels, 10 from birth, 10 after achieving Keval Gnan, 14 done by the Dev, and then 8 splendor. So these are the main qualities of Sri Arihant Bhagwan. Now, as I was saying, after Arihant Bhagwan completes his lifespan, once his age or life span is over, the body and the soul will get separated, and the soul will rise straight up and get situated in the Siddhashila. This pure soul, which is in the Vitragta and Sarvagya Dasha or passionlessness and omniscient situation, and it now doesn't have any bodily form, is called Siddha Bhagwan or Siddha Parmeshthi. So, as we all know, in this Bharat Kshetra, in this Ausarpini Kal, there were 24 Tirthankaras, right? And Mahavir Bhagwan was the last Tirthankar. But he existed almost 2,550 years ago. So today, where is he? Today, all of these 24 Tirthankars are in the bodiless form in the Siddha Bhagwan position. So they are situated in the Siddha Shila. So are there any Arihant Bhagwans today in this universe? Yes, there are. There are still 20 Arihant Bhagwans at minimum in a place called Videha Kshetra. You may have heard about the names called Simandar Bhagwan. So Simandar Bhagwan is in the Arihant Bhagwan form today, sitting in the Samosharan and delivering his sermon. Whereas the 24 Tirthankaras that we know, from Adinath Bhagwan to Mahavir Bhagwan, are now in the Siddha Bhagwan situation, right? Or Siddha Bhagwan, or they have achieved Siddha Parmeshthi Pad. So a question arises, which one is higher or which one is better? Is Arihant Pad better or higher, or is Siddha Pad higher? See, technically, we all want to achieve Siddha Dasha because we are not this bodily form. We are the actual soul inside. And the pure situation or the purest state of soul is the Siddha Dasha. So Siddha Parmeshti Dasha is a higher position. Aryant Bhagwan has achieved four infinite qualities by getting rid of four ghati karma. You can see also in the bracket, there is Anant Gnan, Anant Darshan, Anant Virya, Anant Sukh. Anant Gnan is achieved by getting rid of Jnana Varniya karma. Ananta Darshan by getting rid of Darshana Varniya karma. Ananta Virya by getting rid of Antraya karma. And Ananta Sukh by getting rid of Mohaniya karma. However, there are still four aghati karma that are remaining. Vedaniya, Ayu, Nam, and Gotra. When these four karmas are also destroyed, so total 8 karmas are destroyed, Jeev eventually achieves Siddha Parmeshti Dasha. So Siddha Parmeshti will now exist in a pure soul form, and they exist in the Siddha Shila. As you can see in the picture here, the soul uh, uh, the soul shape is the pure soul depicted by a human type of a form. So Siddha Parmeshti are in a shape that is similar to his last bodily form, maybe just slightly smaller, but in the last bodily form. Okay. And the moon shape which is shown here is actually not the moon, it is a Siddha Shila. So it is indicated by or symbolized by a moon shaped glow. But the actual soul is just this bodily shape uh, uh, entity, right? So that is the Siddha Dasha. So Siddha Dasha, they are completely liberated souls. Now these souls have gotten rid of any kind of matter or bodily substances. We call it, there are three type of karmas, right? Dravya karma, bhav karma, and no karma. No karma is this body, the speech, all of these are no karma. Dravya karma are uh, karmic bondages to the soul, like Jnana Varni, Darshana Varni, Mohani. These are all Dravya karma. And Bhav karma are Jeev's internal passions, like Rag, Dvesh, Moh. So Arihant Siddha Bhagwan have gotten rid of all three of these um, karmic bondages. So they have destroyed all type of karmas. They have destroyed all 8 type of dravya karma. They have gotten rid of all type of bhav karma or all soul impurities, and they have also now separated from all worldly matters like body or even samosharan or divya dhvani. All of those are completely separate from the jeev, and now the jeev is in a pure soul state, right? So he is now completely liberated. Once Jeev separates from all of these material particles, it never gets combined with them again. So Siddha Bhagwan, now he is completely liberated. He will never be in a situation where he is again bonded with karmas. He will always be completely liberated. Third point, as I said, Siddha Bhagwan have gotten rid of 8 karmas, and against of those 8 karmas, he has now developed these 8 great attributes. We will look at these attributes in the next slide. Siddha Bhagwan is now free of all the birth and death cycles. Whenever one walks on the path of moksha marg, it is a one-way path. Once you achieve your destination, which is the Siddha Parmeshti Dasha, there is no returning back. All right. So Siddha Parmeshti will now be sitting in this eternal bliss, a state which is eternally happy. And he will never have to come back again in this worldly miseries of birth and death and running around to earn your bread, emotions and anxieties and all the bodily, worldly pains are all gone. Now Siddha Bhagwan is in a state of eternal bliss. He has infinite happiness. He has infinite knowledge. He has infinite um, uh, efforts. He has now infinite bliss. He will always be sitting in this bliss within, but physically he is located at the summit of this universe. You may have heard about universe being this human shaped lokakash. So Siddha Bhagwan is at the tip, at the top of the lokakash or summit of the lokakash, and that place is called Siddha Shila. So Siddha Shila is actually a physical location in Lokakash where the Siddha Bhagwan resides. This position, Siddha, is actually the ideal, the most topmost position that we want to achieve. So ideally, Siddha Bhagwan is considered as our goal, our role model. However, you will see that in the Panch Parmeshthi Pad, we have Arihant Bhagwan in the first place, whereas Siddha Bhagwan in the second place. Why so? We should have ideally put Siddha Bhagwan in the first place, right? And Arihant Bhagwan in the second place. Because Siddha Bhagwan is our role model. Arihant Bhagwan is still in the bodily form. However, it is Aryant Bhagwan and it is his divine sermon through which we get the path of salvation. We understand what is Moksha Marg and we understand who am I. So it is Arihant Bhagwan's this divine speech through which we learn all the concepts of Jainism and the real path to happiness. That is why it is the Aryant Bhagwan that we worship first. However, having said that, Siddha Bhagwan or the pure soul, the state of pure soul is still an ideal position or state in which all the souls should wish to reach eventually, because that is the most blissful place in this universe or in the soul's journey through eternal deaths, births and deaths. The Siddha Parmeshthi will now continue to dwell in this perfect state till infinity. Time is infinite. It started infinite times ago. I mean, I not started, the word started was wrongly mentioned, but the time is ongoing since infinite time and it will keep on going till infinite time. In the past, we all have gone through the miseries of births and deaths and continuously in this cycle of going around in the four gatis, and we are constantly unhappy. One can achieve happiness by considering Arihant and Siddh Bhagwan as our role model, following the path which they have guided us through their divine sermons. And that path is to actually know oneself, get engrossed in oneself, and achieve Ratnatraya and continue walking on that path. So, this path will actually bring us to this infinite blissful state, which is the Siddha Dasha. And now, from now to eternity, for infinite time, Siddh Bhagwan will always remain in this blissful state. Isn't it, great result with the small efforts? In any of our worldly things, we evaluate how much effort we will put in and how much result we will get, right? Here in the Moksha Marg, the efforts are very small, very few, and the fruits are infinite. So it is really a great gamble. Okay, as I mentioned to you, we will dive into these 8 qualities which Siddha Parmeshthi have achieved. So against Jnanavarana karma, Siddha Parmeshthi now has achieved infinite knowledge or Ananta Jnana. By getting rid of Darshanavarana karma, Siddha Parmeshthi have gotten infinite perception or Ananta Darshan. By getting rid of Vedaniya karma, Siddha Bhagwan has achieved undisturbedness or Avyabadhatva. By getting rid of Mohaniya karma, Siddha Bhagwan has achieved irrevocable right belief or Shaik Samyaktva. By completing the Ayu karma, Siddha Bhagwan has achieved now non-destructible or Avgahanatva. By getting rid of Nam karma, Siddha Bhagwan has achieved a quality called non corporeal or Sukshmatva. By getting rid of Gotra karma, Siddha Bhagwan has achieved constancy of individuality or Aguru Lagutva Gun. And by getting rid of Antray karma, Siddha Bhagwan has achieved infinite energy or Ananta Virya. So we learned today that Arihant and Siddha, these two are called Dev or they are called gods. In Jainism, we believe that gods are the ones who are passionless and who are omniscient. And gods are not some fixed individuals. Gods are anybody who who understands oneself and who gets engrossed in oneself by means of Ratnatraya, Samyak Darshan, Gyan, Charitra, and eventually achieve godhoodness. So, anybody and everybody who can achieve passionlessness and omniscience can become a god. And these, this is a very unique message that Jainism delivers versus any other philosophy that you would hear. So, Arihant Bhagwan and Siddha Bhagwan, these are gods or who have achieved an individual soul who have achieved these positions. Among them, Arihant Bhagwan are still in the bodily form and they have 46 qualities, out of which four main soul qualities are Ananta Gyan, Ananta Darshan, Ananta Sukh, and Ananta Virya. After certain time, when Aryant Bhagwan's Ayu of the last humanly body also finishes, he would achieve now Siddha Bhagwan position or Siddha, he would become a Siddha Bhagwan. A Siddha Bhagwan has 8 qualities in addition to the 4 qualities which Aryant Bhagwan already had. By getting rid of 4 aghati karma, Siddha Bhagwan now has Aguru Lagutva, Tukshmatva, Avgahanatva, and Avyabhadatva, 4 additional qualities. Siddha Bhagwan now resides in a pure soul form, and from now to eternity, Siddha Bhagwan will always stay in the eternal bliss. So, a moksha marg leads from normal soul, worldly soul, to the Siddha Dasha and eventually eternal happiness. So, every one of us should try to understand this Jain philosophy, understand what are Panch Parmeshthi or 5 supreme beings, understand what are Aryant and Siddha Bhagwans that we saw today, and walk on that path to achieve self realization and eventually godhoodness. Today we spoke about Dev, which is Aryant and Siddha Bhagwan. During our next class next week, we will talk about Acharya, Upadhyay, and Sadhu, who are ascetic monks. Ascetic monks are the souls who are walking on the path or walking on the moksha marg, and they are very close to becoming Aryant and Siddha Bhagwan. And what are different types of ascetic souls, ascetic monks, and how would a monk achieve Aryant and Siddhapad? These are the topics that we would cover in our next class. We'll stop here today. Back to you, Harshilbhai.
Thank you so much, Somil Bhaiya. It was a beautiful explanation to our Panch Parmeshthi, specifically Arahant Parmeshthi and Siddha Parmeshthi for today's lecture. Now, without wasting much of your time, I would like to request from the audience if they have any point to be discussed or any queries in and around the topic, you can definitely ask here and we can discuss with Somil Bhaiya on the same. Anyone? Rishabh Kothari, I guess we had one query in the between. Yes, anyone? Yes.
Somil, you presented amazing way, nice way, simple way, the most complicated topic of Orient and Siddha, like, people get scared about the knowing 46 attribute. Oh my God, how am I going to remember those things? But you divided nicely and gave a very beautiful explanation, very nice slides and everything. Thank you very much for doing such a great job.
Thank you, Virit uncle.
Thank you, Creed Uncle, for the feedback. So, since we don't have any questions from the audience, let me just
Uh,
ask few questions.
yes, just
Yes, yes, please. Go ahead.
Somil bhai, wonderful presentation. I just want to know that if somebody who is not understood Jainism is first time getting into this kind of a lecture and he wants to know how is his own God, whoever he believes, is different from the five supreme beings, and why do we say that the five supreme beings have certain features which do not exist in any other God whom they believe in?
Right. A very good question, Raju uncle. And the answer to this is actually given by Sri Samanbhadra Acharya in Apta Mimamsa Shastra. There, that it's written in a poetic format. And Samanbhadra Acharya there asks to himself that uh, Aryant and Siddh Bhagwan, why should I worship to you? So he's kind of joking or having a conversation with Aryant and Siddha Bhagwan. So he is then asking to himself, do I worship you because you are sitting in a Samosharan and you have so many Indra and Dev coming and worshipping you, or they are pouring flowers, or there are different dundubi, like different musical chords being played in Samosharan. Is that why I should worship you? Then he himself thinks and evaluates and then says, no, I think these kind of qualities can be seen even for some big king, or if you have for example Indra from the Devlok, then he would also be worshipped by so many devs, many people going around him, many people um, uh, uh, putting fan or some flowers around it. So that's not a quality to be called as a god. Then the next question arises, is it your superior body or because of which I should worship you? Now you have Param Audarik Sharir, and also your body is such that even if there are millions of sun and moons, your uh, the light emanating from your body can easily hide those sun and moons. Uh, then again he thinks and says, no, I don't think these are the qualities because of which you should be called a god, because a god is not defined by his bodily form, right? A god is somebody who has achieved inner purity. So even today, many of other philosophies, they would consider anybody a god because he's very strong, or he has certain superior powers, or he has some weapons, or Sudarshan Chakra, or he's very beautiful. And these are all bodily characteristics because of which a soul cannot be called a god. A soul can be called a god or a godhood because he has achieved some superiority of the soul quality. And that superiority is passionlessness and omniscience. Normally, one would experience, all of us can experience for ourselves, that it is extremely difficult to get rid of our own impure thoughts. It is very easy to get rid of some impure conducts from outside. You can probably fast and not eat, so you can get rid of the bad karmas that you gather by greeding for good food. However, it is your inner impurities or inner thoughts or passions. It is very difficult to get rid of them. So a soul who has become completely passionless and as a result has achieved omniscience, that is the only purest form of a soul worth calling a godhood. So I would request everybody who has heard Jainism for the first time to really evaluate, what do you call as a god? Why should somebody be called as a god? Is he or she a god because he or she will do something good for you? Then he or she can also do bad things for you, right? Then your life completely depends on somebody else. I think somebody should be called a god only because you have gotten rid of your inner impurities and achieved a completely blissful state.
That's a very good question and explanation. Because being a Jain, we should question ourselves. We go to mandir every day. We read the argas. We do swadhyay. Why do we worship Arahant Bhagwan? Why do we worship Siddha Bhagwan? These kind of questions should we should have some answer along with us. Whether it's the external things, it's all about the internal things, the gun or whatever. So we should be answerable to all such questions. Thank you for the question and the answer. Any further questions related to the topic? Anyone? So I have one question from every one of you. So why, Somil B already explained in the lecture, why is the placement of Arahant Bhagwan as the first in the five Parmeshthi sequence and Siddha Bhagwan as the second? Though our ultimate goal is Siddha Dasha, which is the Purna Dasha, still why is Siddha Bhagwan placed in the second position and Arhant in the first? Anyone, your opinion? Anyone from the audience?
Yeah, should I answer?
Yes, please.
So, Arihant Bhagwan, through his Divya Dwani, he gives the message for our upliftment and, how we can become Bhagwan like him. So, it is for that reason, despite Siddhadasha being the ideal, we venerate Arihants first because he gives the Moksha Marg and Siddha Bhagwan don't give Moksha Marg.
Okay. Thank you so much, Vijaldi. Somil Bhaiya, you can throw some light on the same topic if you want.
Yes, so we have a couple of messages on the Zoom as well.
Yes.
Komalji is saying, because of the Aryant speech, we got to know the Siddha Dasha. So we even get to know Siddha Bhagwan as our role model or superior soul because of the divine sermon that we heard from the Aryant Bhagwan. So very nice point there. And there is another message from Sonal Bain that Aryant gives us knowledge to show the path. Very rightly said. See, all of our knowledge comes from the Tirthankara's Divya Dwari. The entire Jainism is pivoted around Tirthankar Bhagwan's Divya Dwani. And all the principles, as we go in the advanced classes, we will learn about Dravya Gun Paryay, Chha Dravya, Sat Tattva, Nishchay Vyavhar, Nimit Upadan, Krambadha Paryay. All of these fundamental philosophies of Jainism comes from the Sarvagya Bhagwan's divine speech or Divya Dvani. So we learn about these concepts, we learn about our own soul, we learn about our purest form as the Siddha Dasha and Siddha Bhagwan being role model to us. That's why Aryant Bhagwan is the source from which we learn everything about ourselves as well as Jainism. That's why we worship him first. And however, Siddha Bhagwan is definitely the purest form of soul and our goal or our role model. So it's a duality. We always believe in duality in Jainism, right? Anekantvad.
Okay, thank you so much for your answers. Somil Bhaiya, one last point which I want you to throw some light is there's a phrase in a bhajan called Jin Darshan Kar Nij Darshan Ho Jata Tatshan Jnanamay. Can you shortly explain this in a minute or two?
Very good, Harshil bhai. So Jinendra Bhagwan's idol or Pratimaji, as we go to the temple, we see Jinendra Bhagwan. We would have all of us experienced that no matter how disturbed or how angry or whatever emotional situation we are in, as soon as we go to the temple and we see Jinendra Bhagwan, our mind just calms down and we get into the self introspection mode. So Jinendra Bhagwan's Pratima or idol is such that it actually shows us our own reflection in the idol. Our own soul is within this body, What we see is Jinendra Bhagwan's body. Jinendra Bhagwan's Nasagra Drashti is depicting that Jinendra Bhagwan is this in a complete meditative posture where the soul is looking within and completely engrossed in himself. Similarly, it silently teaches a message to us that if we want happiness, our happiness lies within, not outside. If we, with our eyes, if we keep looking elsewhere, or with our hands or our other indriyas, if we try to find happiness outside, we will not find it. The true happiness is within. So by knowing oneself and getting engrossed in oneself, that's where the true happiness lies. So Jin darshan kar, nij darshan pa. You see the Jinendra Bhagwan and you try to identify yourself and then learn about yourself is the message that we hear from Jinendra Bhagwan.
Okay, true that.
Mhm.
So we should at least question ourselves that why we worship Siddha Bhagwan, why we worship Arahant Bhagwan, what are the factors which drag us to worship them. We should have some questions and have some answer to just, as we have already learned about Nishankit, Nikanchit, Ank, which are the very basic Ank, and we should know the such questions and answer ourselves what are the reasons. So thank you for your participation, everyone. Before we conclude and go ahead to Jinwani Stuti, let me shortly brief you all with the accessible points. So, all of the courses, all of the topics we usually conduct lectures for are already there on JEEF portal. You can visit our website www.jeev.net.in. And if you have any queries, you can directly reach out to us, support@jeev.net.in. Once you log into the portal, you can log in through a website, through your email ID, through your contact number. As soon as you log in, you'll regularly get the updates of all the lectures and of all the content which we post there. Apart from the lecture series which we have, our team is already working on several other activities such as Gurudev Shri's English subtitle videos. That definitely I'll brief in the coming lecture of Gurudev Shri Janma Jayanti. And there are much content available on the portal. You can definitely take the advantage of that content. And accessible point for other social media handles are already been there: Instagram, LinkedIn, Facebook, Twitter, YouTube. Once the lecture is done, the next day we upload the recording of the lecture on YouTube, so you can also check those videos offline next day. And yeah, so now Somil Bhaiya for Jinwani Stuti.
Everyone, please fold your hands. We'll say a small Janwani Stuti. निज निधि निज में बताई यह अनंत उपकार है, उसके लिए जिन वाणी माँ को वंदना शत बार है। इसके लिए जिन वाणी माँ को वंदना शत बार है।
9 times Namoka.